The annual corporate dinner in Seattle was supposed to be a night of harmless schmoozing, half-hearted toasts, and catching up with coworkers I barely saw outside of project deadlines. But this year, everything felt just a little off, starting with how Rachel got ready. She stood in front of the mirror longer than usual, adjusting the red dress she hadn't worn in years. It clung to her in all the right places, sharp and striking, with that high slit on one side I used to tease her about. I watched her from the doorway as she reapplied her lipstick, then dabbed her neck with a new perfume, spicy, bold, not the usual floral stuff she wore for work. I'd never smelled it before. "You look amazing," I told her. She smiled at me in the mirror but didn't say anything. Just smoothed down her hair and adjusted her earring. It was a small moment, but even then it felt like she was preparing for something or someone. I brushed the thought away. We were both tired, and this was her world, her colleagues, her event. I was just there to support her. The hotel ballroom buzzed with the sound of clinking glasses and laughter. People in suits and cocktail dresses moved around like they were at a reunion rather than a company dinner. Rachel disappeared into a sea of handshakes and hugs as soon as we arrived. I hovered near the bar, sipping a bourbon and pretending to scroll through emails. When they called her up to give the toast, I straightened up, watching her ascend the small stage. She stood tall, confident, commanding the room with practiced ease. "Tonight, we celebrate another year of growth, perseverance, and a team that knows how to hustle," she said. The room applauded. "And on a personal note, I want to thank someone very special for being here tonight. My close family friend, Brian." People turned toward me and laughed, some clapping, others nudging each other playfully. "Close family friend?" Someone chuckled nearby. I forced a smile and raised my glass like it was all some inside joke. But my stomach dropped. Rachel didn't even blink. She moved on with the rest of her speech, flawless and composed, like nothing unusual had just happened. But I couldn't shake it. Not the words, not the way she delivered them, and definitely not the way she avoided looking at me afterward. For the rest of the evening, I watched her glide from group to group, laughing at stories I wasn't part of, flashing that brilliant smile that used to be mine. She looked radiant and completely unreachable. At one point, she motioned me over and asked if I'd take a picture of her and her boss. "Here, use my phone," she said, already holding it out. As I positioned the camera, her phone buzzed in my hand. A message flashed at the top of the screen before fading out. From someone saved as D. "Wish you were here instead. That red dress, you knew what it would do to me," smirking face. "And I still have those pics," winky face. My finger froze above the shutter button. I stared at the name, the message, the implications burning into my brain faster than I could process them. Rachel must have seen my face because she reached for her phone immediately. "Too late." She laughed, light, airy, too well rehearsed. "That's just Derek," she said. "He's an idiot. We went to college together. He always sends stupid stuff like that. Total flirt, but harmless." I handed the phone back without a word. It wasn't the message itself, it was the way her face changed the second she saw it. The flicker of panic. The way her eyes narrowed for a second before settling into that carefully casual smile. I knew her well enough to read the crack in her performance. We didn't speak much after that. I told her I had a headache and moved back to the bar. She didn't follow. For the rest of the night, I sat nursing the same drink, my thoughts swirling. That moment, those few seconds with her phone in my hand, had changed everything. Before, I had questions, doubts I dismissed as insecurity. But now, I had something else. Not proof. Not yet. But certainty. The kind that doesn't shout, it whispers. When we got home, she talked about the dinner like nothing had happened. "I think people had a good time," she said, peeling off her earrings and kicking off her heels. "Did you talk to my boss?" "I think he liked you." I nodded, brushing my teeth, saying nothing. Later, in bed, she drifted off to sleep quickly, facing away from me. I lay there staring at the ceiling, wide awake. Every small moment over the past few months came rushing back like puzzle pieces I hadn't realized were scattered. Her new perfume. That gym she suddenly loved going to after years of avoiding treadmills. The times she said she had to work late but wouldn't come home tired. The way she had started locking her tablet. How distant she'd become when we touched. Her laughter had changed too, still beautiful, but no longer for me. The pieces had been there. I just hadn't wanted to see them. And now, thanks to one careless message, I couldn't unsee any of it. After the dinner, something shifted inside me. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I didn't even ask her more about the message from D. But in the silence of our home, with her humming in the kitchen like nothing had happened, my mind began to spiral. It wasn't just suspicion anymore. It was realization. I started to replay everything. like flipping through a mental photo album of all the moments I'd ignored. A collection of red flags I'd labeled as busy season stress or just one of those weeks. She had changed the password on her tablet about 2 months ago. Said it was a work thing, part of some new security protocol. I didn't press it at the time, why would I? But now I saw it for what it was. A door closed and not to keep out hackers. Then there were the gym sessions. Rachel used to hate working out. She joked that running was for people who were being chased and lifting weights was her definition of hell. But lately, she'd started going almost every evening. She even bought new gear, tight yoga pants, fitted tops, new shoes. She said it made her feel empowered. I wanted to believe that. I really did. But then came the inconsistencies. Once, I called the gym to check if I left my wallet there after picking her up. The receptionist told me Rachel hadn't checked in that night. I told myself it was probably a mistake in their system. I told myself a lot of things. The biggest slap came one Sunday morning, when I borrowed her car to pick up breakfast. I reached into the glove compartment to grab the registration, and there it was, a box of condoms. Unopened. Not expired. Brand new. Rachel and I hadn't used those in over a year. She was on the pill. We didn't need them. I remember just staring at the box, holding it like it might explode in my hand. When I asked her about it later, I tried to keep my tone casual. "Hey, I found these in your glove box. Everything okay?" She barely blinked. "Oh, that? Probably from before I switched to the pill. I didn't realize I still had those. It was too quick. Too clean." She turned back to her laptop, and that was the end of it. Or at least it was supposed to be. The way she smelled had changed, too. That new perfume wasn't just new, it was deliberate. She'd gone from soft and sweet to something sharper, ****. I asked about it once and she told me, "Just trying something different. Do you not like it?" I said I did. And I did, in a way. It was bold. Like her. But now I wonder if it wasn't meant for me. Her wardrobe had evolved, too. More form-fitting outfits. High heels for casual workdays. I'm not clueless, I noticed. But I thought maybe she was just feeling herself more. That she'd hit her stride in her career and wanted to dress like it. Maybe she wanted to feel powerful. Maybe she just wanted to feel wanted. We had grown distant, I'll admit that. We used to spend weekends tangled up on the couch with takeout and dumb movies. Lately, I found myself eating dinner alone more often than not. She always had a reason, calls that ran late, a team dinner, a workout she couldn't reschedule. At first, I filled in the silence with Spotify and optimism. But now the silence sounded different. She used to kiss me on the forehead when she left in the mornings. That stopped about 6 weeks ago. I only noticed it after a few days of her brushing past me with a distracted "see you later." That int * Macy, once casual and instinctive, had become optional. And now, apparently, unnecessary. One night, just to test my theory, I tried to initiate something, just a kiss, nothing more. She pulled away with a strained smile and mumbled something about a long day. The old Rachel would have leaned into me, playfully teased me, maybe pulled me into the shower with her. This Rachel? She avoided eye contact and went to bed early. I started to take walks at night just to clear my head. I told her it helped me sleep better. Truthfully, I needed to step away from the walls that were starting to feel like they were closing in. I'd walk past lit-up windows, hearing couples laugh or argue or just exist together. I envied the noise. I envied the certainty. Inside our home, everything was calm on the surface. But it was that kind of calm that comes just before a storm breaks. I started testing boundaries in small, almost childish ways. Picking up her phone when it buzzed, asking how her gym sessions went, mentioning that her coworker Derek was a funny guy. She always had an answer. Always just enough. Derek? He's harmless. Flirts with everyone. That answer stuck with me, because her phone buzzed at odd hours now. She always checked it quickly, tilting the screen away. Sometimes she'd smile, not at me, but at whatever was on the screen. I didn't ask. I was afraid of the answer. Once, while she was in the shower, I glanced at her tablet on the nightstand. Locked. New password. I tried her birthday, our anniversary, even her dog's name. Nothing. That night, I stared at the ceiling and counted the weeks, the months. How long had she been slipping away? How long had I been letting it happen? I remembered the first time I ever saw her cry, on our third date when she talked about her parents' divorce. She said she never wanted to make someone feel the way her dad looked the day her mom left. Like he'd just lost a piece of himself. Now I was starting to understand that look all too well. And still, I hadn't confronted her. Not yet. There was still a part of me, stubborn and naive, hoping it was all just in my head. That the message from D was a bad joke. That the condoms were forgotten relics. That the new perfume and the distance were symptoms of a phase, not a fracture. But another part of me, the one that watched her more closely now, listened more carefully, took mental notes like a detective, knew better. Rachel was slipping away. And this wasn't just about another man. It was about the lie she was crafting day by day, piece by piece, while I stood beside her pretending it was all still real. Suspicion is a quiet K***lure. It doesn't scream. It doesn't shove you into rage. It sits, waits, grows, and eventually it demands action. I don't remember the exact moment I decided to stop waiting for Rachel to tell me the truth. But one Tuesday evening, while she claimed to be at a late-night core sculpting class, I realized I couldn't pretend anymore. I needed clarity. Whatever shred of denial I had left wasn't protecting me. It was suffocating me. Her old tablet, the one she barely used anymore, was my way in. She had logged into her accounts on it months ago and, like most people, never logged out. She thought I didn't know the password. She was wrong. I powered it up and waited as the home screen flickered to life. There, under her cloud settings, was the one thread she'd overlooked: location tracking. Some relic of a shared family setting we'd set up years ago. I tapped her profile. Her location pinged. Starling Suites, 9.2 miles away. That wasn't the gym. It wasn't even near one. My heart didn't race. It just settled. Like a snow globe whose flakes have finally fallen. I didn't rush. I changed my shirt, grabbed my jacket, and got in the car like a man heading to the post office. I didn't know what I was expecting to find. Part of me hoped she'd be standing in the lobby alone, holding a protein shake. Another part knew better. Traffic was light. The city glowed in that soft, cold way it always did in winter. Quiet streets, fog hovering low, headlights carving out tunnels through the dark. When I pulled into the parking lot, I didn't go straight in. I parked a block away and walked. From across the street, I saw the building clearly. Clean lines, soft yellow lighting. A lobby that made everything look expensive and harmless. I scanned the windows. 5th floor, second from the right, a curtain moved. Then I saw her, Rachel, standing near the window in that same red dress from the dinner. Only now she was barefoot, her hair unpinned, one strap sliding off her shoulder. She was holding a wine glass, and wrapped around her from behind, arms encircling her waist, was a man I didn't recognize. He kissed her neck. She laughed, and I filmed it. My hands didn't shake. My breathing didn't hitch. I simply lifted my phone and pressed record. 30 seconds. That's all I needed. It felt surreal, like watching someone else's life unravel on a screen. But I wasn't just watching. I was witnessing the death of my own denial. I slipped the phone back in my pocket and turned around. Walked calmly back to the car, got in, started the engine. I didn't scream, didn't cry. I drove home in silence, the low hum of the tires against asphalt the only sound accompanying me. By the time I walked through the front door, it was almost midnight. I sat at the kitchen counter, poured myself a glass of water, and waited. At 12:42 a.m., the lock clicked. The door opened. Rachel stepped in like nothing had happened. Hair damp, cheeks flushed, carrying 2 lattes from some all-night cafe. "Hey," she said, setting one in front of me. "Sorry, I didn't text. The class ran long and I grabbed coffee on the way back. Figured you'd still be up." She smiled. No guilt, no hesitation. I took the coffee, nodded, and said, "Thanks." She kissed my cheek, her lips barely brushing my skin. Then she walked upstairs, calling out over her shoulder, "You should try that class sometime. My legs are dead." I didn't follow. I stayed at the counter watching the steam rise from the cup. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake listening to the sound of her soft breathing through the bedroom wall. I imagined her dreams, wondered if they were still about us or if I'd been replaced there too. The next morning, I made her coffee, kissed her forehead, watched her get ready for work like nothing had changed. But I had changed, because now there was no wondering, no second-guessing. I had the truth. And the truth was worse than I ever imagined, not because of what she'd done, but because of how easily she hid it. How completely she'd shifted into this other life, this secret existence, while still occupying the same space as me. That weekend, I told her I needed some space to finish a side project. I set up in the basement where I started sorting through our digital life, shared bank statements, texts synced to the cloud, travel bookings, emails. The hotel she was at? She'd been there before. Twice, in fact. Once during a company strategy retreat. Another time for a solo self-care weekend. The receipts said otherwise: dual meals, 2 room keys, 1 very specific room preference. I started a folder. Every document, every screenshot *T, every message, I backed it up and stored it. I wasn't collecting evidence to win an argument. I was collecting a narrative. Proof of the story I'd been written out of. The photos came next. I remembered Rachel asking me to upload her vacation pictures to our cloud drive a few months ago, some retreat up in the Cascades. When I pulled them up, they seemed innocent enough: forests, coffee cups, her in front of a fireplace smiling into the camera. But the EXIF data didn't lie. One photo taken at the exact same timestamp had a reflection in the glass behind her. A man's shoulder. A hand holding her waist. It wasn't me. I added it to the folder. I wasn't angry. Not in the traditional sense. I wasn't having imaginary arguments with her in the shower or fantasizing about smashing dishes. It was quieter than that. Emptier. Like walking through a house after it had been robbed, not the violation itself, but the eerie silence afterward. What haunted me most wasn't the betrayal, it was the realization that she had still smiled at me. Still cooked us dinner. Still watched Netflix beside me, our shoulders touching, her laugh mixing with mine as if none of this was real. But it was real. And I had the footage, the documents, and the timeline to prove it. I started talking to a lawyer. We met on a Thursday at a firm downtown. She was efficient, sharp-eyed, and didn't waste time. "Do you want to confront her first?" she asked. "No," I said. "I want to be ready first." She nodded. "Then we'll be strategic. You've already done half the work." The word strategic echoed in my head the whole way home. That's what this had become now, not just pain. Not even betrayal. A campaign. She was still smiling at me over dinner, still making weekend plans, still asking if I wanted to check out that art exhibit next month. She didn't know I knew. That gave me power. And in a situation like this, power mattered. When she left again for the gym the next week, I didn't even check the tablet. I didn't need to. I already had what I needed. The only thing left was deciding when to let her know. There's a strange stillness that comes after you stop questioning. When you're no longer guessing, no longer doubting your instincts, you start to move differently. You stop pacing and start planning. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't scream. I didn't throw accusations or confront Rachel in a blaze of heartbreak. What I felt wasn't fire, it was frost. Cold. Controlled. I realized I didn't want an apology. I didn't even want her explanations. What I wanted was for her to feel the weight of what she'd done, not with words, but with consequences. That's when the planning began. I started by organizing everything I'd collected. I built a timeline: every late-night gym session, every work trip, every suspicious charge on our joint credit card. The documents spoke louder than any confrontation ever could. Her pattern was clear. Her effort to hide it clumsy. If I had missed it before, it wasn't because she was clever, it was because I was in love. I copied everything into a secure folder on a thumb drive and backed it up to encrypted cloud storage. Then I visited my lawyer again. "This is the folder," I said, sliding the drive across the table. She plugged it in, clicked through the evidence, and let out a small exhale. "This is more than enough." I nodded. I wasn't proud. But I was prepared. Over the next week, I did things that felt surreal, like I was impersonating someone in a movie. I opened a private checking account. Transferred enough to support myself if things got messy. Moved certain valuables, old photos, family heirlooms, to my parents' house. Booked a private lodge on the Oregon coast under my name, paid in cash. Not for escape. Not for healing. For closure. Rachel still played the part at home. Still asked if I wanted to try that new Thai place. Still curled up next to me some nights, scrolling her phone with that slight smile, the kind people wear when they think they're safe. But she never showed me the screen. I didn't ask. She never suspected a thing. Not when I called her parents just to check in and recorded a message for them. Not when I started sleeping lighter. Not even when I asked her casually what her schedule looked like next weekend, thinking of a little getaway. "Oh, that sounds amazing," she'd said. "I could use a break." Just us. Just us, I lied. Friday arrived. I packed our bags, made sure the car was clean, and left early from work to prep the lodge. It was tucked between the trees, just close enough to the beach that you could hear the waves at night. Quiet. Private. Neutral ground. When she stepped inside, she looked around and smiled. "Wow, this place is gorgeous." I nodded. Figured we could use something peaceful. We unpacked. Ate takeout by the fireplace. Played normal. It was like staging a dinner scene after the audience had gone home. Her small touches, laughing at the wine label, rubbing her feet under my leg, felt scripted. I let her perform. The next morning, while she made coffee, I opened my laptop. "Can we talk?" I asked. She turned, cup in hand. "Sure, what's up?" I slid the laptop across the table. The screen displayed a photo of her, arms around Derek, standing on the balcony of the Starling Suites, timestamped 2 weeks ago. Her smile cracked instantly. The cup clinked against the counter. "Brian, what is this?" "You tell me." She didn't answer right away. Just stared at the screen, eyes darting like she was trying to blink it away. But it was real. I watched the moment she realized the walls were gone. I don't know what to say. Try starting with the truth." She swallowed hard, then sat down across from me. Her voice was barely a whisper. "It started a few months ago. When you were sick, remember? That week in January when you had that awful flu." I nodded. "That Thursday when I said I had to stay late for a team meeting." "I didn't. I met Derek. It wasn't planned. I felt so stuck. So invisible. I didn't know how to ask for something without hurting you. So instead, you lied." Her eyes welled, but I felt nothing. "He was there. He noticed me. And I let it happen." "You left me," I said, while I was burning through fever sweats. "And you went to a motel with another man." She winced. I didn't know how to come back from that. So I kept pretending. "Why Derek?" She paused. "Because he saw me. He made me feel like I wasn't just somebody's wife, like I still mattered." "You didn't matter to me?" "No," she said quickly. "I mean, yes. You did. But I stopped mattering to myself. And I blamed you for that." It wasn't rage I felt, it was something deeper. A kind of grief. "You blamed me for not reading your mind. For not stopping you. I know how it sounds. I'm not making excuses. I broke something. I know I did." I nodded slowly, leaned back. "And you would have kept going?" She looked away. "I don't know. I did." She would have. Until she got caught or bored. "Rachel," I said, "do you even know how many nights I stayed up wondering if I was the one falling short? If I was the problem?" Her face crumpled. "You weren't. You never were." The room was quiet but not tense. "Not anymore." "I'm not here to punish you," I said. "I brought you here to tell you it's over." Her breath hitched. "What?" "I'm filing for divorce." She didn't argue. Just nodded slowly like she'd been expecting it since the screen lit up. "I deserve that. I'm not doing this because I hate you," I added. "I'm doing it because I finally see you." She closed her eyes. "I'm sorry." "I know." We sat like that for a while, not speaking. Just sitting in the shadow of what we'd built. Eventually, she reached into her bag, pulled out her phone, and placed it on the table. "I ended it with Derek last week," she said. "Deleted everything. I wasn't going to tell you, but I thought maybe there was still time to fix us." "There isn't," I said, without venom. "Just finality." We didn't speak much the rest of the weekend. We each took long walks, made separate meals. Sunday morning, I packed up early and left a note on the counter, "Drive safe." When I got home, I opened a clean document and wrote 3 lines. She lied when I was weakest. She stayed for convenience, not love. I stayed long enough to understand. That was all I needed. After the lodge, we drove home separately. I arrived before her, unpacked only my own bag, and left hers by the door. We didn't speak for 2 days. She must have known then, known that we'd crossed a line that couldn't be redrawn. Still, on Wednesday evening, she came home earlier than usual. No gym bag. No to-go coffee cup in hand. Just her, standing quietly in the doorway watching me sit on the couch. "I want to talk," she said. I muted the TV. "Okay." She sat across from me, clutching a spiral-bound notebook, its pages bent and frayed at the edges. It looked old, something from college or earlier. She opened it not to read, but as if holding it gave her permission to speak. "I wrote some of it down," she said, "because I didn't know if I'd be able to say it." I nodded. She didn't look up when she started. "I met Derek at a conference about a year ago. It was before your birthday, actually. I had stayed late to help with a vendor table and he came over during cleanup. We made small talk. Nothing crazy. But when I left that night, I was smiling. She paused. It didn't feel wrong. Not then. I kept my face still. She flipped a page in the notebook. A couple weeks later, we started messaging. First about work. Then about everything else. And the thing is, I didn't think of it as cheating. Not really. I thought of it as harmless, something that filled the space you didn't know I was carrying. That line sat in the air, heavy and bitter. I know how selfish that sounds, she said quickly. But that's how it began. Not with a decision to betray you, but with a slow slide into needing something else. Needing someone else. I didn't interrupt. I just listened, my hands folded in my lap. We'd meet for coffee. For walks. Nothing serious at first. But then, the motel happened. During the flu, I said. She nodded, shame etched into her face. You were so sick. I remember walking out the door that night thinking, I'll be back in 2 hours. It's just coffee. Just to vent. But I knew. I knew I wouldn't be home on time. My stomach twisted, but I didn't move. I ignored your texts. I turned off my phone halfway through dinner with him. And then we got a room. I kept telling myself it was a one-time thing. That I was allowed to make one mistake. I looked at her. But it wasn't one. No, she whispered. It wasn't. Her voice cracked. I kept seeing him. I lied. I snuck around. I told myself I was still being a good wife because I cooked dinner and paid bills and asked about your day. But I was 2 people. And you were only married to one of them. That was what gutted me. She wasn't even trying to defend herself anymore. Just admitting. Unraveling. Piece by piece. And then it started getting messy. I tried to pull away. I told him we had to stop. He'd agree. Then 2 weeks later, he'd message something like, I miss how you laugh when you're actually yourself, and I'd be back in his apartment pretending that none of this would ever catch up to me. Did you love him? I asked. She blinked, startled. No. I don't think I did. I think I loved how he made me feel wanted, new, spontaneous. But him? No. He was never you. I took that in. Didn't mean much anymore. She flipped another page in the notebook and stopped. This one was handwritten, no bullet points, no outline. Just a single paragraph. I almost ended it all 3 months ago, she said. I started writing a goodbye letter to you. I had a draft saved on my laptop called If I Go. I was going to confess everything, take the blame, and leave. Why didn't you? She hesitated. Because you got that new job offer. Remember? The one in Portland. You came home so excited and the way you talked about us moving, starting over. I couldn't do it. I couldn't ruin it. So you decided to keep lying. She nodded. Yes. That was the choice I made. And Derek. We ended things officially 2 weeks before the lodge. I told him it was done. He didn't fight it. I think he was tired too. I stood and walked to the window. The rain was tapping lightly against the glass, the kind of drizzle that felt like background noise in a sad movie. You know what the hardest part of all this is? I said, still looking outside. She didn't respond. It's not that you cheated. It's that you became a stranger. You looked me in the eye every day and built a second life behind mine. And the worst part? I didn't see it. I trusted you so much I stopped noticing. I never stopped loving you, she said, her voice faint. I turned to face her. Then why didn't you stop hurting me? She had no answer. I walked past her and headed for the hallway. Brian, she called softly. I paused. Do you hate me? I considered the question. No, I said. But I don't know who you are anymore. And I don't think I want to. That night, I slept on the couch. Not out of anger, but because I needed space. Emotional air. Distance from the echo of her voice admitting everything like it would make something click into place. It didn't. Her confessions offered no relief. If anything, they made it worse. Because now I had the truth. And it was unbearable. 2 days after Rachel's confession, I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. Ask her about the January cabin trip. She didn't tell you everything. No signature. No follow-up. Just that. For a moment, I thought it was Derek or maybe someone else in their circle. But it didn't matter who sent it. The fact that someone else knew meant there was still more buried under the lies. That night, I confronted her. We sat across from each other at the kitchen table, a frozen pizza between us neither of us had touched. Tell me about the January cabin trip, I said. Her face fell instantly. That was all the confirmation I needed. You said you went alone, I continued. That it was a solo weekend. That you needed to disconnect. She nodded slowly. It was supposed to be. But Derek was there. And so was someone else. A woman. I leaned back, stunned. You stayed with both of them? Her voice cracked. I didn't know she'd be there. He didn't tell me until we arrived. Said it was last minute. She was just crashing for the first night. But she stayed the whole weekend. You shared a cabin with the guy you were cheating with and another woman while sending me selfies and telling me you missed me? She looked like she might collapse under the weight of it. I wanted to leave. I really did. But I didn't. I stayed. I thought if I acted like everything was fine, it would be. You lied to me in real time. That's the part one can't get over. She didn't defend herself. Didn't cry. Just nodded. And that terrified me more than anything, the way she was slowly admitting to being someone else entirely. Someone who could hold both lives at once and pretend neither one was burning. A week later, she showed up at the family lake house. I hadn't told her I'd be there, but she remembered the pattern I always went there to think. She came alone. No suitcase. Just a folded letter in her coat pocket. I'm not here to fix anything, she said. I just needed to say some things out loud. I didn't invite her in, but I didn't stop her either. We sat on the porch steps, the lake still and gray in front of us. She read the letter aloud. It wasn't a plea or a bargaining chip. It was an acknowledgement of who she became, of what she destroyed. She said she had started therapy. Said she'd ended things with Derek for good. Said she no longer expected anything from me, not forgiveness, not contact. Just clarity. When she finished, she folded the letter back up and placed it between us. We sat in silence. For a long time. She looked at me, eyes rimmed with regret but no longer begging. If something ever could begin again, it would have to start from nothing, she said. I nodded. And for the first time, the silence didn't ache. It soothed. We weren't lovers. We weren't enemies. Not even friends. Just two people facing the wreckage and, maybe for the first time, seeing it clearly. No apologies left. No lines rehearsed. Just silence. And somehow it felt like healing.